Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Wednesday night, the 6th of January, 2021. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware of West Babylon, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. And the telephone number there is 631-756-1125, or you can go to the website at omnitruevalue.com. And joining me now on the screen, as I sent the Zoom link to the wrong person, well, it's Joe Rayo's chair. There he is. Hi there.
Sorry, I thought you forgot about me.
No, I sent the link, but apparently I sent it to the wrong person, and they're sitting in the waiting room. It's been that kind of a day.
Yes, it has.
Okay, so um, anyhow, we 24 hours after yesterday's show, and we still have no idea how things are going to play out beyond this first system on Saturday. They got watches up in the western, winter storm watches up in the western North Carolina counties, and we might see a few southern Virginia counties eventually peppered into all of this. But that ain't coming here. That's going to stay out to our south and east.
And it looks like Joe, the threat for early next week has been pushed back a day, at least in the mind of the European, which now is moving everything over to Wednesday, and the
And
GFS,
then it's got something else on Friday too, on the last day.
which is interesting because yesterday or last night's run, they had the Tuesday event followed by a Thursday event. Now they've suddenly moved it to Wednesday, Friday.
Right,
So
and the GFS has something another one going out to our south Monday night and Tuesday, and I didn't notice any much else for the rest of next week. This is the problem that we have in this blocking pattern. The block is so darn strong that it's keeping us basically cold and dry through Sunday. But the block in terms of what's going on in the models, plus you're seeing big pressure changes taking place or going to be taking place in the North Pacific, and I think what that's doing is just basically roiling models uh, every 6 hours, taking us on a different adventure because of the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is very volatile.
it is, and until yeah, the volatility. That's the main concern here. But it looks like Joe, at least through the next several days, it's going to be dry and fair here locally. And I think tomorrow, Renata and I are going to begin taking down some of the outside decorations. If for nothing else, it's going to be bright and sunny, and temperatures probably not overly cold here in the Hudson Valley. Probably around 40 degrees, maybe low 40s in New York City, but a tranquil day coming up. Looks like a few tranquil days coming up
Right.
for our area.
The wind was a bit busy here today, and the gradient, while not exceptionally tight, is probably going to be tight enough to keep the wind moving around, probably right through into Sunday. The way things are going, because of this next low coming up, we're going to see our winds go northwest and north and then northeast. And except for high clouds, I think on Friday into Friday night, for the most part, it should be fine. 41 likes so far. Make Joe Rayo happy. Let's get to 100 likes, and all you got to do is hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel with your Gmail account as well. That would be most appreciated. So I guess let's get started. I'll bring up the satellite, the full U.S. view, um, if it lets me. Let's see if it's going to let me. Is it going to let me? I will insist that it does. And there you have it. And if you look on the far right, upper right, you can still see that is Sunday storm. Today is Wednesday, and it's still in the range of our satellite. And you can still see clouds and bands of clouds sweeping back west and southwestward into New England. And in the meantime, Joe, the uh, rain is firing up in Texas now, and even some thunderstorms on the southern end. There's a little bit of severe weather risk tonight in southern Louisiana. That's the next storm system that's going to be moving across the deep south. and get ready for some snow from North Georgia to Southern Virginia.
Yes, I'm just answering somebody on the chat board here. Joe, it looks like if anybody's going to get anything out of this in terms of snow, it would be the high terrain area of western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee, where they could pick up, in some cases, maybe in excess of 4 inches of snow in the high terrain areas. But they also work its way down into northern Georgia and also northwestern South Carolina, and maybe into the southwestern corner of Virginia. So you want white, you want snow, head south, young man or young lady.
Yeah, they got a 3-inch bullseye just north of Johnson City in eastern Tennessee, and a 6-inch bullseye. I'm wondering, Joe, you think that 6 inches might be on Mount Pilot?
Mount Pilot. Boy, I, the one thing that you never saw on that show through all the years that it was on the air was a show surrounding snow. I guess Mayberry just didn't have the elevation
No.
to have any
We,
significant snowfall over
well,
there.
maybe Mayberry was closer to Wilmington than Asheville,
Yeah, yeah.
or they just basically had summertime all year round.
Or
You,
maybe in at Hooterville, they often make reference to what Pixley,
right.
and I think we never knew exactly where Hooterville was, but they said it was probably within a few hundred miles of Chicago. So they probably had a better chance of seeing snow in Hooterville as
But
opposed
they
to
never
Mayberry.
saw snow. You never saw them wear coats either.
That's true.
They never wore coats.
Yeah.
But that's the snowfall forecast, by the way. This is from the Weather Service. I'll just get it a little bit wider because I don't know if Jess Harden is on tonight on the chat board because he's on every night asking about snow in Alabama. Now that we have a map that actually shows snow well, I mean, right up in the northeastern corner of Alabama or northern Alabama. I'm thinking, Joe, from what I've looked at, that this could be one of those situations where the area of a coating to an inch of snow could wind up being a little bigger than what's being indicated here. And again, this map takes us into Saturday morning, so that by the time we get to Saturday morning, the low is going to be moving out to the east. So it looks like the Virginia Weather Service offices have snow west of Richmond into southwestern Virginia. So places like Roanoke, Lynchburg, maybe up to about Charlottesville, and then down to Blacksburg, uh, winding up with at least a few inches, I think,
I used to do
out
a
of
radio.
this.
I used to do the weather on a radio station down in Southwest Virginia, Richlands, Virginia, and it was a gospel station too. WGTH. I wonder if they're still around or if they're still in business. But yeah, what?
No, no, nothing. Never mind. I was just trying to figure out what GTH stood for, and something popped up in my head.
Oh,
I'll tell you off the air.
wait a minute. WGTH.
Right.
I just looked it up on Google. Is a Southern gospel and religious formatted broadcast radio station licensed to Richlands, Virginia, serving the Richland Tazewell area, owned and operated by High Knob Broadcasters Incorporated. So they're still on. They're still on the air after all of these years. I wonder if the guy who I used to. I'm trying to remember now who I used to speak to every day. WGTH. That's how we always used to answer the phone.
Good Lord.
Uh,
Yeah, let me tell you off the air what the whole thing was with GTH. Okay, so here's the view from Canada. And yep, there it is. This is the latest satellite loop from Canada there, southeast of Nova Scotia. Really, that low center out there is pretty impressive on the satellite. Very well developed.
and Renata
I
just
was
on.
just going to say, building materials 8552, floor and wall 8551. Go on.
No, she just told me because she used to do the weather on that station too, and the person I used to deal with at WGTH was Ron. That's
Ah,
I haven't thought about Ron in like 40 years.
well, it's amazing how your memories are stirred by certain little things that
Yes,
ring a bell. Anyhow, the blocking is strong. Still seeing those clouds moving in a in a direction that we're not really used to. with weather systems moving from the southeast to the northwest in the Davis Strait, and that's right around the edge of the upper high that is sitting out to the east. Let's get this. I'll get my little drawing board up here, but here's the. Come on, there we go. Hello. Oh, it's one of those days, Joe. You know, seriously, trying to get this thing to draw, and it won't do it.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
it's
it's
it's gonna
insisting.
be a day. It's gonna be a day that's gonna be remembered for a long time. But that's for something else. But
Yeah. No, I cannot get my pencil to draw. Why is that?
maybe you could use your finger.
No. I'm trying. Hold on. I think I found the problem. I think. All right. Let's try this again. I see. I get stubborn because when stuff doesn't work, I expect it to work, and apparently the transparency is at zero when it's which should mean it's supposed to be working. All right, you know what? I give up. Forget it. I give up now. So anyhow, there's your block. It's still there. When we check on it tomorrow, it'll still be there. When we check on it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it'll still be there. This thing's going to hang around for a long time. In the meantime, we keep getting these systems crashing in from the Pacific, and those are all taking the southern route. And as a result, we are seeing some precipitation. And I've pulled up. Oh, come on, load already. For God's sake, I finally found a radar that looks semi decent. And it's loading. It should have preloaded. Here we go. So we're
Loading, loading,
loading,
loading.
loading. It's going to be one of those days. So here we go, finally. So this is Weatherbug's radar. So those
Oh
of you
my
who have
God,
Weatherbug,
Joe.
I mean, am I reaching here?
Uh,
I know. What am I?
Joe, when we had the old National Weather Service radar before they made this miracle change of theirs, my wife would look on her iPad and use this WeatherBug radar, and I would laugh at her. I'd say, "Oh my goodness, why are you looking at that? Take a look at what I can show you." And now it's gotten to the point where now we have to be reduced to going to WeatherBug radar.
Well, I'm going to keep looking, but we do have some rough weather and potential severe weather this evening. So, those of you, if you're watching from southeast Texas or southwest Louisiana, there is a risk of severe weather there, and the Storm Prediction Center is monitoring the situation. And I'm going to bring up the Storm Prediction Center's map here too. Thanks for the folks at Weatherbug. There's a marginal risk. I think they had a slight risk in there earlier. There's a one working severe thunderstorm watch that is up, and that's about it. So this was the slight risk is gone now. They just have a marginal risk right along the Louisiana South Texas coast. Tomorrow, that risk area is going to shift to the east a bit, to a small area along the coast again. Uh, Literally just touching the shorelines of southeast Louisiana, southern Alabama and Mississippi, and the western part of the Florida Panhandle, with general thunderstorms up further north. And after that, it's gone because this low is going to move fairly far to the south. And I got another radar view that I pulled up from, or that I had saved. I had preloaded, and unfortunately, it now is reloading. So you know what? We've seen enough of the radar. WPC. WPC still, Joe, very dry over the next 7 days, so clearly they are not impressed. Although I just noticed as it refreshed, whoever was on the forecast shift late this afternoon, because the map just updated, we went from 0 0.01 to 0.10 total precip in the next 7 days, which ends a week from today, to 0.10 to 0.25. Okay, so literally double the rainfall.
Yeah,
Okay. Uh, Liquid precip amounts in western North Carolina, by the way, are forecast to run on the order of half to 3/4, and maybe even as much as an inch. So we might have a little bit of upside with this as far as some of the snow is concerned. I think that's going to hinge on cold air draining southward with high pressure to the north, and the block cold air is going to be draining southward into the southeastern states. And of course, you still see more rain back across the Gulf states because there'll be a follow up system behind this one. and the heavy precip continues up in the Pacific Northwest. Now, let's run the snow maps, okay? WPC in their short range. I don't know what happened here, but somebody just like I had everything already set and it's all preloading. So we're back. Okay, so WPC in their infinite wisdom, in terms of probability, showing the dark blue is 40% or higher for at least two. And that covers a good chunk of western North Carolina. So Asheville in the mix in there, and the southern edge goes right into that northeastern corner of Georgia. And also, you've got fairly high probabilities, Joe, of at least two reaching into southern Virginia, particularly the southwest. And if I hit the four button, there's actually a 40% chance of at least four extending up western North Carolina into a small portion of southwest Virginia.
Well, those mountains are are relatively high. I think on the order of what, 5 or even 6,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name
Oh,
of
they're
that.
high. I drove that road from Tennessee, the Interstate 26 from Tennessee to Asheville, and I was there's some high peaks through there. I was shocked at how high they were.
Yeah, and those areas. I can remember one year in northwestern North Carolina, they had a snowstorm, and one place got something like 30 inches, all based upon just basically, and it was like late in the season. I think it was in March or early April.
Yeah.
You couldn't believe that.
Well, you get a good northeast wind there, and that's all lift. So if you get a situation with a low to the southeast and a good northeast wind out of a cold high to the north, you probably could grind out some big snows. So
Mitchell, that's the name
Mount
of it.
Mitchell, yes, Mount Mitchell.
6,600 feet high. Wow.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to run through. Let's do a little upper air. Not again, folks. There's no resolution here in terms of figuring out what's going to happen in the longer term with regards to the block and the storminess that we might potentially see or not see. I again would caution those of you who like to watch models from run to run and go from for snow lovers, go from the peak of joy to the depths of despair every 6 hours. You're going to continue to go through these high peaks of joy and depths of despair every 6 hours. So the basic problem remains: the block is just too darn strong. This is definitely a case of Joe where be careful what you wish for because you may get it, and that's what's happened now. The block is so strong that we just got cold, dry air all over the place.
That could always, as we are alluding to here, you get too much of that, and even though you got a good looking storm, if there's too much of that cold air, it's going south and staying there or getting suppressed, and there goes your storm. That's what happened basically in the winter of 72, 73, which is why New York only ended up with about 2.8 inches of snow for the entire season. Obviously, that's not going to happen this year, but still, that's what happens when you have too much of a good thing, Joe.
Yep, absolutely. And there's your block right here. I got my pen working. This whole area, you have an upper high that's building up toward Iceland, and then the ridge just literally whips around to the southwest. And you also have a ridge coming up the other side, north of the Great Lakes. So you're getting it from both ends here. So weather systems can't go west to east. So what happens is they come into the Pacific and they take the southern route. And here it is. This is the one that's going to be moving through the Gulf states and going to bring snow to parts of the deep south. And of course, here's our old storm east of between Cape Nova Scotia and Newfoundland that's still sitting out there and not going anywhere quickly. This is the map, by the way, for tomorrow afternoon. So that just holds. It doesn't move. It sits there between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. That means that this thing has no room and has to go out underneath us, which is what it does. Meanwhile, higher than normal pressures continue across the North Atlantic and in Canada. So the next Pacific system, and you'll see it's already inland, drops down into the Gulf states. You see it right there Monday night. And what happens to that? Well, the block relaxes a bit on this run of the GFS, but the relaxation of the block might also mean that whatever cold air we have, which is not a lot, might disappear. So that goes out, and then you got another short wave, a couple of short waves, and this one toward the end of next week into next weekend looks rather potent. And then, of course, as we move, the models have been telegraphing us getting into a very cold pattern here, Joe. Look at this upper low. It's doing this again. Look at this deep upper low in the long range. Uh, when we get toward January 19th, January 20th, that is a very, very powerful system. And the models, this will be interesting to see. It's done this for quite a few runs now. We saw this yesterday. Sometimes when there's going to be something of consequence, the models can pick it up early, and they seem to hold on to it in one form or another. So maybe this is something that we might want to keep our eyes on uh, going into. This is deeper in the long range, but that is impressive. And then that lifts out, and we're left with overall a rather cold-looking upper air flow, which is um, that's what we're thinking.
I don't understand why the folks who are trained in long range forecasting over at the Climate Prediction Center still maintain that we're going to have on both the 6 to 10 and the 8 to 14 day progs above normal temperatures here in the Northeast during that time spell. And as we just noted here, it has to eventually turn colder, or will be turning colder as we move on toward what 10, 2 weeks from now. It,
Well, if that upper low is correct, which is what the GFS, may on this run has some. It does develop a rather strong storm in the Northeast. It's got a 966 low over Monticello, over Sullivan County, Monticello. And look at, you were talking about the gradient yesterday. Take a look at this gradient on this run. I'll bring it up on the close-up northeast map.
yeah, that's
I mean, that's what
crazy.
that's insane.
That's
That
crazy.
that's that and that's massive lake effect, by the way, too. If
And
that
that's
if that
1 hour.
verifies.
That's 1 hour after Joe Biden is declared
Inaugurated.
president,
He'll
inaugurated.
have to hold on to his top hat.
Yeah. And Joe Biden might be just the person to bring back the top hat after JFK got rid of it.
Yeah. Well, I think he could pull it off, the top hat.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just real quick. We'll run through the GFS and let the maps load here. Okay, low
I
number.
do believe, I think it was during, I'm not sure if it was his first or his second term as president. I think in one of those two terms, President Reagan, they had to actually cancel outdoor activities or cancel having the inauguration outside because it was so bitterly cold that they actually had it inside. And by the looks of that map, Joe, by the looks of that gradient, they may have to do the same thing for the inauguration in 2 weeks if that actually comes
Oh
into play.
yeah, oh yeah. So there's your first low, folks. In and out it goes. This is the one that passes by to our south. Comes close enough probably to maybe put us in a high overcast for a while Friday night into Saturday afternoon. Then that pulls out. Here comes the next one. Now on this run, it really doesn't do much of anything with it and just slides it out to the east and doesn't bring it up the coast. Then we get what looks like a strong cold front at the end of the week with some cold air behind it, and then a powerhouse system that drops down in the upper air. Now I'm going to just tell you, Joe, I don't remember the last. You don't see this very often, so this already kind of looks suspect to me. But you've got 1,002 low in southeastern Minnesota that becomes a 995 low in central Indiana, and then just redevelops in central Virginia as a 984, and suddenly it's a 966 low in northeastern Pennsylvania. You don't really see that too often. So I suspect that we're going to see the models change a bit with regards to this particular vision of the future that it has.
Blocked by the very cold air over the Northeast. Maybe that's an Alberta clipper, for God's sake.
It's a diver, yeah.
And it is a diver, and you talk about a blocking pattern.
Now you would
Maybe
think
just
you.
simply
Go
just
ahead. I'm
simply
sorry.
it simply can't do the usual turn through the Great Lakes and up to the north and west of us, and that's why it's being forced to go the way it's being depicted.
I would think with the NAO off the wall the way it is, that we could wind up with something that goes down much further south. I don't, and probably not as deep as what the model figured out here.
I'll tell you what, if it can maintain the same intensity of what is being suggested here and ends up going a little bit further to the south, what did Alan Casper used to say before big potential storms? Get out the preserves.
Oh, is that what he used to say?
or if he really felt that New York was going to get cloudy, he'd say there's trouble in River City down the road.
Yes, indeed. So there's again, this is not a night where we were going to come up with any kind of revelations with respect to the weather that's going on. So I'm just going to bring us back up full screen. Let me also acknowledge. Hang on.
And we're still at 90 likes, folks. You're not trying
Yeah, you
tonight.
need to get that. Joe gets so upset when we have a show that doesn't have 100 likes. Okay, and I try to tell him not to take it personal.
Yeah.
But
Joseph Gallo, no, excuse me, John Charles. The 294-hour GFS is always reliable.
yes, it is. You could write it down. Yeah, write it down. It always verifies.
Yes.
It's the
Yes.
only hour that verifies is the 294. The rest of them don't even come close.
Right.
We have some super chats tonight.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out now. The chairman who hit super chats tonight said that they offered him a fourth night at his COVID hospital route. He said, "Sure, but I'll miss Joe and Joe." Thank you so much,
Well,
Scott, and my weather family. And they said, "Who?"
yes, exactly. And also David Fuller, who this morning sent me the EPO graphic, and it's every bit as it also it continues to show us going negative with the East Pacific Oscillation in the longer term. So as I said before, there's nothing new and revealing on tonight's Joe and Joe weather show, with regards to the long term.
Now, is this a long range forecast by Mr. Driller? Remember snowstorm January 16/22, and then he says put on fridge.
Oh, I think those were his dates.
16 to the 22 or 16 and 22?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
He'll clarify. He'll
Yes, I'm sure
clarify.
he will.
By the way, a number of you may have sent me messages today. Nothing personal. I've had a very, very difficult day, so I am in the process of catching up to messages and comments. So if I haven't answered you, just give me a little time. I do eventually get to everybody, but it's just been one of those crazy days where I had a lot of errands to run. So speaking of which, we're going to cut the show early tonight because you have something to do.
Yes, I was planning to go to a virtual meeting of one of the local astronomy clubs. And Dennis Cassia, I know he's on, or he was on. I'm not sure if I can send him the link to this or not, if he's interested. Phil Harrington, who is a well-known and very assiduous amateur astronomer, is giving a talk tonight at the Astronomical Society of Long Island. So I said to myself, I mustn't miss that. So I'm going to be bidding all of you a fond adieu early tonight, and I guess I'll be back with you tomorrow, Joe.
Well, it's either you go to the astronomy meeting, but you also had a meeting this afternoon with the Wednesday Afternoon Fine Arts League, or as they are more commonly known as the Wednesday Afternoon Fang and Claw Society.
Oh, and thank you so much, everybody. 120 likes, Joe. So we did it
awesome. Again. Joe's happy. Okay.
Yes.
This Joe's happy. So, all right, we'll be back tomorrow, 7:00, 7:30 Eastern time. So be sure to arrange your dinner hour around the show so you don't miss it. Okay. All right, folks, cutting it short tonight. So we'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Good night.